Welcome to Pimpy's Investment Chat, where we keep investment talk simple. And here's your host, Pimpy.
What is going on out there, peeps? All right, let's get back into what's going on into the markets. In case you didn't notice, yesterday was a pretty good-sized crash. A lot of stocks, gold, silver, precious metals, cryptocurrencies took a pretty good hit. I checked this morning. It looks like they're rebounding slightly. We're going to get into that. But more importantly, we're going to hear an interview with Wall Street Silver and Andy Schectman. And Economic Ninja is on there as well. He doesn't say very much, but he's there. But Andy covers some subjects that we've been speaking about now for some time on this channel, but it's important for you to hear from other people besides myself, because a lot of people are still expressing their concern about where the prices are on gold and silver, and you shouldn't be. Again, the market does not display the real value of gold and silver. We know that's the paper value. So let's get into this and hear what Andy has to say. But before we get started, you know the deal, oatmeal. Do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button. If you're not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel, and I certainly do appreciate it. If you're thinking about buying precious metals, gold, silver, go check out our friends over there at Money Metals Exchange. The link is down below in the description. If you're a first-time buyer and you spend more than $100, use promo code Pimpy, P-I-M-P-Y, and you will get a free half ounce of silver. Okay, let's take a look at crypto. Yikes. Yeah, see? Bitcoin actually this morning was pretty close to, or over, I should say, 20,000. But it's sitting at $18,928. Ethereum's at $1,327.21. XRP's at 37 cents. Cardano, 44 cents. Solana, $31.97. Dogecoin, about 5 cents. Polkadot, 6.29. Polygon, 75 cents. Shiba, 4011. Had a chance to hear an interview with one of the crypto gurus out there, stating that, and when I mean gurus, I don't mean YouTubers. Talk about the real professionals, okay? Stating that between them and JP Morgan, they are anticipating another 50 to 60% loss in value from where the market is today. That is in all assets. A drop like that's going to cause a lot of people to panic. Understand that a lot of times this is planned. They want you to panic. They want you selling low and buying high. And one of those ways they can get you to do that is by smashing the market, causing you to panic. You're like, oh my God, all my money's gone. No, nothing is gone until you try to sell your crypto, your stocks, your gold, your silver, whatever else you have. As long as you continue to hold on to that asset, it's not a loss. Just hang tight. I know it's a rough ride, and we spoke about that many times here on this channel. We're anticipating a rough ride. Terra Classic still sitting at 0.303, despite the fact that it was caught up in a hoopla over Kucoin, the Mortal Kombat fighter. Does his name sound like a Mortal Kombat character? Seriously. We know there was warrants out for his arrest, and I believe he has turned himself in. I might be wrong on that, but I believe that's the last thing I heard. That gentleman was one of the founders of the Terra Luna crypto and exchange, including the stablecoin. But he has since relinquished his control, and now Terra Classic is ran by the community as it should. So don't link the two together, and just hang tight for those of you who are interested in a Terra Classic. Again, I'm not a big fan of cryptos, but I do see an investment opportunity here, considering it doesn't take very many dollars to accumulate a lot of Terra Classic. For me, it was, why not take the gamble? We come over here to Satama V2, sitting at 0.0015. Again, it continues to have a very rocky road just because of all the changes that they're going through. It started off as a meme coin and then try to become something serious. So it's going through all the necessary growing pains, not to mention the fact that it's stuck in a financial crisis along with everybody else. So, Satama, 0.0015. Gold and silver, like all the other assets, is being driven down. Look, all markets are manipulated. You can go around on YouTube and hear all the experts tell you that all markets are being manipulated. There definitely is a bigger agenda going on, not to get all tinfoil hat wearing sounding. But look at gold at $1,671.40 right now. That's ridiculous. We all know there's no way in hell that's the true value of gold. They drive the value of gold and silver down. It causes people to panic. They sell their precious metals, and then they get to pick it up with a huge discount, accumulate as much of it as possible when the time comes. Then they let the cat out of the bag, and you're going to see gold and silver take off, and you're going to kick yourself in the ass for ever selling your gold and silver. You should have just hung on to it. So don't panic. Do as they do, not as they say. Central banks around the world are hoarding up large amounts of gold, and you should do the same. Again, gold at $1,671.40. Silver is at $19.35. That's definitely the poor man's gold right there. If you can't afford gold, then you should be stocking up on silver. Even if you can only afford 1 ounce of silver per paycheck, keep stacking. About a year and a half, 2 years ago, I was telling people this. I had people complaining, oh, this is how the rich get rich and the poor stay poor because they can't afford it. I can't go buy hundreds of ounces worth of silver. You don't have to buy hundreds of ounces at one time. If you can afford 50 ounces, then get 50. If you can only afford 10 ounces, then get 10. If you can only afford 5, then get 5. If you can only afford 1, get the 1. But just don't make excuses and not do it. Take your 1, put it to the side, and keep adding to your stack. Eventually, it will grow. So silver is sitting at $19.35. So as I was stating, Andy Schectman is going to cover a lot of different subjects that we've been speaking about here on this channel. So I love that when I hear other individuals that are very respected in the industry saying the same thing. All the issues that you might have right now with your cryptocurrencies or gold and silver and watching the prices go down and you're panicking, Andy is going to cover all of that. And you're going to see why you shouldn't panic and instead continue to buy more. Let's chime in. Shout out to Wall Street Silver for doing this interview. They always have great interviews. I will leave a link for the YouTube channel down in the description for you guys to go check them out.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ivan Bayuki, and welcome back to Wall Street Silver. Joining us back on the channel is our good friend, Andy Schectman, the CEO of Miles Franklin, and a very special guest, the Economic Ninja. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back.
Hey, Andy, thanks for joining us, man. You've become a bit of a international superstar in the past week. What happened, man? Travis?
I heard somebody named Robert Kiyosaki just couldn't stop talking about it. She said your name like 6 times in an interview.
He's done it a couple of times. It was quite a thrill, to be honest with you. I'll be on his show tomorrow. He heard an interview I did with Jay Martin, and it's really changed things considerably. Over the last couple of weeks, I've gotten, I don't know, thousands of emails.
Wow.
It's been a fun experiment in digging out of email, email craziness. So all is good. It's fun. I'll be on his show tomorrow. We'll see where it takes us. Never met him. I don't know why he.
Well, I know why. Because he wanted to talk about this guy. You've been talking about this guy in Russia in the One Belt, One Road project. So that's what really turned him on to you.
Yeah, we've been speaking about that now on this channel for a couple of years. Actually, I've been speaking about it since 2017 in my Hidden Things in Front of Your Eyes Facebook group before it was removed. But I do love the way Andy is going to cover what's going on over there. And it's important for you to listen because it explains why you should be holding on to your gold and silver.
Yeah.
Tell us, let me back this up. Tell us, what was it about the One Belt that you think got Robert Kiyosaki clued in? And I know, and it has something to do with gold also, right? And how they're controlling commodities and trade. So walk us through, the audience. Some people have heard your spiel on this, but update the new members of the audience about the One Belt Road and how it plays into the China strategy.
Yeah, I ask people all the time, Jimmy, what makes the dollar the world reserve currency? And so few people really ever get it right. But in essence, it was or has been since 1974 the protection of the Saudi kingdom.
Think about what Andy just said. If it wasn't for the Saudi kingdom, dollars never would have been used as trade for oil. This story comes out about a reporter named Khashoggi who was murdered. And the story that the news is telling us is that the Saudi prince was behind this. He ordered the killing, the whole 9 yards. Trump had a great relationship with the Saudi kingdom. They really celebrated him when he came over. The Democrats and media pressured him to do something about what happened to Khashoggi. But by then, I'd already heard all kinds of rumors that the whole thing was a setup. Not that the man was not murdered, he was. But the whole thing was a setup for this specific reason that Andy's about to cover right now. And that is, there had already been rumors that Russia and China have been trying to stop using the dollar for trade. Now, we know what happens to world leaders when you try to stop using the US dollar to do trade. Look at Gaddafi, who tried to encourage the Middle East to stop using the US dollar and instead start using what they called a gold dinar. And then that would enrich the Arab nations. It cost him his life. Biden went over there to pressure Saudi Arabia. Don't even think about it. Because if we do, we'll bring up the whole Khashoggi thing again. And I think the prince didn't care much for what Biden had to say, because it looks like they're going to do it anyways.
Which enabled the US dollar to be the petrodollar, or the world reserve currency by default. And, you know, when we talk about the Belt Road Initiative, there's a lot of very interesting things that people don't quite understand about it. It's the largest infrastructure project ever attempted in human history. And one thing I learned from Travis was that all of the infrastructure, the roads, the bridges, the maritime channels, the railways, they'll only be patrolled by military and by commerce. This is the Panama Canal on steroids. But when you take a step back and you see what's going on, well, as an example, every one of the 13 OPEC producing countries are members of the Belt Road Initiative. 6 of the 13 are in the BRICS nations or have applied to join the BRICS nations. The 7th, United Arab Emirates, has just joined the BRICS Bank. And really the thrust of what I've been talking about for a very, very long time, starting with the reclassification of gold as the world's only other tier 1 asset, is the de-dollarization that is taking place by the BRICS nations and all of the countries that are part of it or are contemplating joining part of it that represent 90% of human population.
I should show everybody the graph of the BRICS nation on how much gold they were accumulating. I knew something was up way back then. Now, the graph started in 2008, but they had actually started accumulating gold a little bit earlier than that. But the graph at the time went all the way through, I think it was 2017, 2018. And I said, there's definitely something going on. Why are these nations continuing to accumulate so much gold? And my theory was that they were going to try to get away from the US dollar. And sure enough, that's exactly what they're doing. Now, Andy talking about the One Road Initiative being controlled and protected by the military. Here's the thing that I'm concerned about. We know that the World Economic Forum out there has the agenda of the Great Reset. We hear rumors that China and Russia is not agreeing to go along with this. It almost seems like they're going to be the heroes in this, and they're going to protect us from the New World Order. Well, you better hope that's the case, because what's happening with what China's trying to do is, through every country, build a type of infrastructure that would allow huge military movement in any country, whether it's by sea, railroad, the roads, you name it. That's exactly what they're setting up. And the more I see them doing this with every country, the more I am concerned that instead they are part of this new world order. And this is just a setup to get us all towards that one world currency. Now, my fingers are crossed that they're not, and they're fighting the New World Order. But it's like, choose your poison. Do you want to be on the side of the World Economic Forum's New World Order, one world government, one world currency? Or do you want to be on the side of Russia, China's communist movement? It's sad that we can't even rely on our own country right now. It really is. And people are being lied to in the media every day, and they're confused about what's really going on, or they're uninformed about what's going on. And that makes it really hard for us to be as strong as we can be as a nation.
When you see Saudi Arabia come out and say, we're going to join the BRICS nations, when you see Saudi Arabia selling their oil to China for the yuan-denominated petro-yuan bond, which is immediately convertible into gold on the Shanghai Gold Exchange, you see Nigeria doing the same thing, and you realize the fragility of the entire system rests in OPEC's decision to sell oil in dollars. Now, if OPEC is part of the Belt Road, every one of the countries, if China and Russia are embracing the relationships with Saudi, with Nigeria, if Russia is protecting Saudi Arabia and Nigeria, an agreement that was struck the day we left Afghanistan in a very unharmonious way. And if you look at all of the countries that are joining, from Egypt to Argentina.
I have to say something about this. We all saw how it is that the Biden administration pulled out of Afghanistan. What a terrible decision it was. Look, I supported him pulling out of Afghanistan, but not like that. That was a terrible way. No country is ever going to trust the United States again after what they just saw. Not unless we find a way to reestablish our credibility. What Biden did was hideous. All those people that were informants, all those people who were assisting our military in this war, the list of names was given to the Taliban by the Biden administration, and those people were murdered.
Argentina to Venezuela to Iran to Turkey, and on and on and on. You're talking almost 90% of the world, and all it would take to really blow things up in this country is to see them all sitting on stage, arm in arm, on a Sunday night here, Monday morning there, and they say, hey, fellas, US, West, thanks for the memories. Thanks for the memories. It's been great. We appreciate what you've done for us all these years. But you know what? We have joined our brothers and sisters in the BRICS nations, and we've decided to open up oil purchases in other currencies, including, but not excluding, the yuan, the ruble, the rupee, gold, maybe euro, and even dollars, and like that. All of the countries on the planet that have had to hold dollars in order to buy oil, and in most cases really don't want to hold the dollar because they feel we are hypocritical, and they don't like us.
Bullies are sort of pushing our weight around with the dollar, using it, abusing it a bit.
Yeah, we use a SWIFT system to try to force nations into doing what the United States wanted. And people got tired of that. Other nations started paying attention. And if you didn't agree with what the United States wanted, then all of a sudden, magically, we got all kinds of media blasting the world leader, and we got regime change almost right away. So no, the United States are no angels. They were a huge part of why this whole New World Order agenda felt confident it could move forward at the time it's doing, is because they felt they have control of the United States, the most powerful nation in the world. I don't think things are going quite as easy as they had anticipated, but it's definitely heading that direction. Now, I spoke about a year and a half ago, I think it was, I told everybody to expect that they're going to get rid of the United States dollar as the reserve dollar. I was expecting them to announce something that October. Obviously, it didn't happen at that time. But I'm still right about the fact that they're going to get rid of the United States dollar as a reserve dollar. And you're going to see almost instantly the United States dollar lose 40, 50, 60% of its value against other currencies.
Exactly. Or weaponizing it and kicking Russia out of SWIFT. And China, who sold 130 or 40 billion of our bonds in the last 7 months. Why would they want to do that if they have their eyes set on Taiwan? They're thinking, we're next. They're going to sanction us. They're going to take our stuff. If they make that announcement and the dollars come flying home, which does the dirty work for Fed Chairman Powell and gives him a villain to point at. Stocks, bonds, and real estate are all inversely correlated to a rise in rates. If the dollar collapses like that because it's all flowing home in a matter of hours, you see interest rates spike to the moon. And
I warned people that this is already coming. I said something about 7-8 months ago. We keep printing money like there's no tomorrow. Eventually, all that money is going to come flying back at us. And when it does, it's going to crash the dollar. I said it several times. This is exactly what Andy's talking about.
And you see the three pillars of wealth in this country collapse like that. And I don't think it's very far removed when you see the massive coalition. Every single day, there is a new article pointing towards this coalition and towards global de-dollarization. That's really the crux of what I've been talking about.
So us as gold and silver investors, is this something you just protect yourself at this point? And I get it. That's all about trade and the new currency, a new possible BRICS currency that's backed by commodities. But how does an American, where we are subsidized by the world reserve currency, how do we protect ourselves in this scenario?
I think you do what the biggest money in the world is doing. Look at what's happening on COMEX, on the LME, on the Shanghai Gold Exchange.
Please pay attention now. This is what I've been speaking about. He asked a great question, Jim did. How do people anywhere protect themselves from this huge crash that's coming up? Andy's going to tell you right now, you guys should see the signs. The LBMA, the COMEX, the Shanghai Gold Exchange, the signs are there. And what you need to protect yourself is the precious metals.
It's all being bled dry to record levels. It's being bled dry of gold and silver. Look at SLV. In the past 4 months, the authorized participants have taken out 100 million ounces of silver out the back door. The biggest money in the world is quietly de-dollarizing. The biggest money in the world is using the suppressed prices of metals to de-dollarize. Look at the fact that for the first time that I've ever seen in 33 years, the commercial banks are net long by over 5,100 contracts in silver, 25 million ounces. Never seen that before. So you have the most well-funded, well-informed, influential traders on the globe who are net long in COMEX silver. At the same time, they are draining the supply of it from the ETFs and all of the major exchanges. And I think that is exactly what you do. You don't get fooled by the misdirection of the price. You use the manipulated price to do the exact same thing that the biggest money in the world is doing, and that is take possession, remove counterparty risk, and get out of the way of that type of an event. And my contention really, Jim, and you guys, is that the Fed is doing nothing but lip service. They're talking about raising rates again, 100 basis points. Okay, so you're at 3.25% with inflation at 8.5% by lying standards. We've all talked at length about shadowstats.com and John Williams and his view of inflation at 17 or 18%. But even believing the 8.5% that we got from the last CPI number, at 2 or 3.25%, you're negative 5% real term or real return. And I think he's not getting tough on inflation, and he doesn't want to be written about in history books for blowing up the entire system.
See, this is what I was talking about. I said they're using the United States dollar to kill currencies all around the world. They literally are doing that right now. We're seeing more and more currencies being devalued because of the power of the dollar. And that appears to be by plan. If you kill the value of all the other currencies, then when the United States dollar finally does crash, and it will, then it doesn't have very much to catch up on because the other dollars are already damaged. So the United States dollar is being used as a weapon to crush the other currencies around the world. And then the United States dollar itself will be the last currency to go.
And that villain is the BRICS nations. It's OPEC, it's Putin, it's Xi. They're going to be blamed for blowing up the whole system. And right. The Federal Reserve can walk away saying, hey, it wasn't us, it was them. And I think that's really what what I've been focusing on for 2 years now, pretty much ad nauseum.
Every country, and I mean literally every country, the citizens need to demand that they get rid of these Rothschild-owned central banks around the world. They are the cause of what we're going through right now.
You know, Andy, when I got to see you, I had the pleasure of seeing you speak at Boca Raton at Rick Rule's event, and you were super fired up. You were raising your voice. This was what you were talking about. But we also got to see Jim Rickards speak, and love Jim Rickards' work, done amazing work. But he said something, and this was on the tail of me putting out that story and you talking about as well, when China and Russia announced that they were going to combine work on a new reserve currency. Jim Rickards says you can't do that because they would need a bond market. Well, as I'm about to get up and walk away, he says, but there is another way, and that's if they backed it in gold. Now, we all know China loves gold. They import gold. They don't export gold, except for just a few coins out there, gold pandas. But tell me about Russia, because Russia's been buying gold for decades, but they've really made a fever pitch since 2015. Isn't that true?
So that's a great question, you guys, because Russia and China are not only the largest producers and accumulators of gold in the world, but they have a long history of viewing it as wealth. But the RICS and BRICS.
Why do you suppose they're accumulating so much gold? Not just gold, but silver as well. Because they know the only real money out there is gold. Period. 6,000 years, whenever we had a monetary change like this, we always fell back to gold. I think countries around the world are tired of dealing with what we have, that fiat dollar to crap dollar. No fiat dollar has ever survived. And every country is trying to get back to sound money. Gold is sound money.
Russia, China, India, South Africa, they're all the biggest producers and accumulators of gold in the world, every single one of them. And I think that when you look at the comments that just came out by a gentleman named Sergey Glazyev, and I'm going to read something to you, which is very important, because when you talk about what Jim Rickards says and backing a system with gold, remember that the Chinese have used the digital yuan now in a beta test, if you will, for over 3 years. They did it in the Winter Olympics, but they've also been doing it to settle trades and infrastructure on the Belt Road. So you're talking north of 20 billion in successful beta testing on the digital yuan, which I believe will be the rails by which the BRICS nations issue their new world reserve currency and pledge commodities to it, to back it. Let me read something that just came out. It says, Sergey Glazyev is the Russian minister in charge of integration and macroeconomics of the Eurasian Economic Union and a leading strategist behind the Eurasian Economic Union China Commission for a new financial structure. He says that the fundamental principles upon which the new post-US dollar economic system will be based will have some common unit that will be agreed upon, but it will not be based upon any particular currency as with the Bretton Woods order, but rather a market basket of local currencies tied more deeply to an array of real commodities such as gold and other precious metals. So they will, I believe, use the distributed ledger technology and success, the beta test, if you will, of the new digital yuan, and they will ride that to peg commodities from all of these countries that are joining the BRICS nations to issue a commoditized backed currency, just like Zoltan Pozar said.
Look, as it should be, that is sound money, but the one thing we must all fight against is being 100% a digital currency. The day that happens is the day then our governments really own our assets. Seriously. The last thing you want is a digital currency that has an expiration date on there that's programmable and can prevent you from making purchases that you want to make. This would be our government's way of circumventing our Constitution by programming the money, prohibiting us from buying guns, buying ammunition. Look, here's my thing. If they're going to use digital currencies, then it should be used between countries to settle debts. But as far as the citizens, no. We need something that's tangible, something that we can hold in our hand, keep in our pocket.
recently that Bretton Woods 3, we're entering it, a new era based upon commodities rather than debt instruments. And I think China and Russia are in the driver's seat to bring this to the front.
And that's why you're seeing China buy so much of our farmland here in the United States. And the government is allowing it. Also, this is another reason why you see Bill Gates become the world's largest farmland owner. There's another part of that agenda behind it, but they know about commodities. We're watching Blackstone, BlackRock, whatever it is, running around buying major interest in all these companies that deal with commodities. If indeed Trump does find his way back into office and he is the hero that we hope he is, there's no guarantee, people, then he needs to break up these corporations. They're already violating the Sherman Acts. We already been through this before. Laws are passed so that companies cannot merge together and then start monopolizing everything. Right now, it's 6 companies control all of our media, almost all around the world. That needs to change. Stuff like that. So again, a shout out to Wall Street Silver for a great interview. Andy Schectman is a man with a lot of credibility. Actually, you could probably easily credit Chris Marcus over there, Arcadia Economics, who's had Andy on his show now for years. So, shout out to Chris Marcus. He's got a great channel as well. But Andy did touch on a lot of subjects that I've been speaking about. So it's nice to hear other individuals out there talking about the same thing. So for us gold and silver holders, hang tight. I know it's a bumpy ride, but in the end, you're going to be very grateful that you did. So I appreciate you guys chiming in. Feel free to leave a comment down below, and I will get back to you. That's it for now. I'm out.